Welcome back, audience. Hope you're doing good. Just gonna record another little video. Uh, in this video, I want to talk about the yin and yang and masculine and feminine dynamic and how it relates to just everyday life and relationships. And it's always about like this original key to everything, the original principle. If you get that, everything else falls into place. This is why you kind of want to be the seed planter, right? Not, uh, if the tree is growing in one way and it's a pear and you're trying to change it into an apple tree, it's not gonna work, right? So you gotta start everything at the basics. This is why all the discussions about how the psychology works as a symptom is useless. It's not gonna help you. So but if you know the principle, if you know how it all works, then you don't expect something to be different than it is. Example, in the previous video I kind of mentioned um, how feminine is a reflection of masculine, how feminine is a reflection, therefore it's always a certain type of past. You can call it chirological past. Feminine energy is a chirological past. It always reflects the projection, because yin and yang, in the essence, you can rephrase it and say that yin is a reflection and yang is a projection. Projection is a masculine action and reflection is a feminine action, a mirror reflecting to you. Okay, this is why the word matrix is also from the word mother. It's a feminine energy. It's reflecting. Anything that reflects what you'll be projecting is a type of past. Okay, so now that you know that feminine is a reflection, you don't expect it, you don't expect it to initiate something. You don't expect, like, well, I want the mirror to smile at me. Why this mirror isn't smiling at me? Because the projection is at the face that is still. You got to smile first for that. I just made the freaking Terminator smile. I'm not gonna make it again. Enough. So, but you see what you're saying, what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying. Reflection. Okay. Now, how does that manifest in life? And sometimes we may have a lot of problems with this and a lot of issues because we just simply ignore this fundamental principle. Because to trust the fundamental principle, it is a big deal, because everything's going to challenge your fundamental principles. Okay? Why? Because everything, when I say everything is outside of you, is the past, is a reflection, so therefore it's logical, and the matrix job is to always challenge your fundamental principle. Okay, so in this case, the fundamental principle that the feminine is a reflection and the masculine is a projection, and so we don't ask for the mirror to lead. It's no one ever could be in the feminine energy and lead. It just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. And in the relationship, right? In the relationship play, this relationship may have like many different games that we all play with each other, right? But if you look at that word relationship, relate and ship is basically relate. It's even in the word. There is a reflection in the word. So at the root cause, at the deepest cause you can see that the nature of the relationship itself is about the leading and following. It's about a reflection and a projection. And the challenge that comes in between, those are the challenges that simulates the growth. Because in this game, to play the game well, we have to grow, create, play. And in a second, I'm gonna get to this principle of projection and some questions that you know may have about this. For example, how would that manifest in real life? In the relationship, a woman in her feminine is telling you stuff, right? And she's speaking beliefs. She's speaking from the beliefs, past beliefs that are these beliefs are no longer true, but she's reflecting them to you. And then I'm gonna get to the point whether you have created them or not. It's irrelevant at this point. But let's just say that there is a woman talking to you about these past beliefs. She may try to say that, well, she doesn't feel like she's enough, or she may project it on you and say that you're not enough, and like some version of that, some complaining, like, so there's this communication from the past, from belief. And so this is why you never and I've explained the word listen, because we use the same word listen to mean two different things. So when a woman may say, like, I want to be listened to, of course she doesn't mean listen with your brain, because if you look at the mirror, at that past reflection, and then you take it as true, you're going to project the same thing from the past. You're going to project the reality that she's feeding you, and that reality is erroneous, it's wrong, it's past, it's negative. So if you listen to that and you start believing that, you start projecting that, and then you start creating that bullshit that was injected into you. And so that's the role of the matrix, and it's always trying to trick you and make you believe into things that are not true. And it comes through your own relationships, through your own woman. It may come through your own woman, okay? And it does, okay? Now, so if you start believing that, and you try to fix that, and you say, like, well, let me fix that, and that's what normally men do. They listen with their brain and try to find a solution. That is not the word, that is not the meaning by the word listening. The real listening is the listening with your heart. And I know sometimes some people may say, like, that just seems kind of very abstract. What do you mean? It's this thing that if you listen to your brain, you're going to look for the solutions, and you're going to get lost, and you're going to start believing that it is true. Because if you start creating solutions for the problems that are not true, you can see where that leads you. So you don't do that. She is, in fact, showing you the patterns that are wrong. She's showing you the patterns that are wrong. And the only thing that your responsibility to do that, don't believe these patterns, don't make them real, because it's all nonsense. It's nonsense. It's not true. No sense. Nonsense. And I'm not saying this in any kind of demeaning way to woman. It's just the way it is. When a woman speaks from a belief, she speaks in nonsense. But there's no need to focus on the nonsense. What is actually going on is there's certain patterns, there's emotional patterns that are being brought out. And the way to listen is if you listen with your heart. And what does it mean? That means is that don't focus on the words that are coming out of her mouth, but focus on the energy and the feelings that are coming out. And then whatever the feelings are coming out, your job is to zero them all out. And that's the skill of an alchemist, of dissolving the patterns that don't work. In fact, any pattern that is erroneous, incorrect, based on a lie, which is a belief, is what separates the yin from the yang, and they want to go back together. And so, in a way, the destruction of these patterns is a form of lovemaking. So, if you know that that's what's going on, that she's reflecting with the old patterns, old beliefs, giving you a chance to dissolve them, right? Whether you created them or not, it doesn't matter. Because those old patterns, old beliefs are just simply naturally generated by the challenging matrix, so to speak, right? And sometimes I call women who are reflecting the negative patterns and the women who are reflecting the truth or the belief, because all beliefs are lies and truth are obviously truth, and truth is permanent, belief is temporary. But anyway, there's a white mirror that reflects the truth even though the lie is being projected, and then there's a black mirror which reflects the lie even though the truth is being projected. So this is why sometimes you can see the beauty in a woman and express that, and instead you don't get that type of reflection of what you projected. You actually get the opposite. And so don't be like, wait a second, like I thought woman is a reflection. Yeah, but sometimes there's a need for this black mirror. It's because it gives you an opportunity to dissolve the old patterns that don't work. I'm repeating myself, but that's what it is. And it's a type of masculine growth. And if you dissolve these patterns, and if you listen fully, that's what listening is, like this type of listening. It's just feeling and sensing everything until there's nothing to feel, like just being as present as possible. There's many words to say it, but there is a certain type of focus and attention that you put on a woman during that process to zero it all out. And once you zero it all out, whenever she no longer has these, negative projections, then you can project something that you see to be actually true. And so this is why feminine is always a reflection, and you never expect it to, because I know that sometimes we may have this expectation that, like, well, I want the mirror to smile at me for once, first, or something like that. But as you can see, that's just not the way it works. And yes, and there are, for example, the opposite too. Like I said, the white mirror projection, which is a masculine, it could be projecting lies, but the white mirror reflects the truth. And that's the mature feminine, the white mirror, and mature masculine is that diamond diffractor that like takes the negative reflection, zeroes it out, and produces something different out of this. And this seems to be like this process that's going on, okay? And if you know this, you don't get into the trenches. Don't get into the trenches. It's just this. You will never ever um, if you break this law and you think that you can actually resolve a, a belief system that the woman is communicating to you, you're not going to be able to do that. But that's how you overcome the challenge of that separation by the patterns that are erroneous. Because the correct pattern unites, there is a separation, but an union in one incorrect pattern does not allow those two energies to go back into union. And that's why there's a conflict. But you see, there's always going to be conflict if you, as a man, don't get this law, this principle. Okay? And also, you may say, what is there? What is the free will of the mirror? Because I mean, is there a free will? Does the mirror have a free will? Because it's just reflecting everything, right? Well, I think that the mirror can point to one projection or the other. That's what the mirror can do. It can certainly point to one projection or the other. So that's the only choice that you really have as a woman, is what uh, structure, what masculine structure you're going to face, and that's what's going to shape you. And so you can kind of see what happens with women in the society, in this corrupt society, is an indication of these masculine structures have been built. Because they've been built in a corrupt way, it reflects to you. So woman in essence is a great indicator, a great feedback to show you of what's happening in a society. And of course you can see sometimes people say like, well, you should never listen to a woman. Again, that word. If you mean by listen to believe of what she says, then no. Because like I said, she will only reflect something that has been projected. And so there's no reason to believe anything that she says, because, or for that matter, anything that's been reflected in the matrix too, because that's already in the past. You've got to project something that is not there yet into something that you want to see. That's what you project. So it has to come from within. And she is just a reflection of that. Okay? But there's another, like I said, then there's another side to the word listening, and that is just feeling whatever is there to feel until it's zeroed out back to stillness, until you feel peaceful and then she feels peaceful. And from that peace, she may not even remember the nonsense that she was talking about, or she would be surprised of how would she even believe in that thing. So I think it's important to recognize where do we have free will, excuse me, where do we have free will and where we don't have free will, and just be okay with that, man. It's just so stupid to argue with what is. It's just so stupid to argue with what is really going on, you know? And when I say feminine, okay, I'm not saying that women are, most of the time in the feminine energy. I'm just saying whenever they are in the feminine energy, that's what happens. And of course, there's a dark feminine, the black mirror, and the light feminine, the white mirror. But the dark mirror is something to that stimulates and catalyzes the wisdom in a man. That's why, if you understand that, then it will catalyze wisdom in you, 100%. And yeah, so you have to just overcome all the lies that she's always. Um, and I've seen it many times when women start reflecting stuff that is seemingly like comes from even the collective. There's this idea of how she sees a man in that moment, and you can't take it personally because she's going to be spewing some nasty ass shit that has nothing to do with you. But yet, it's still your responsibility to take that fire and to zero it out. Um, don't pay attention to the things that they say because it's going to be sound completely crazy because it really um, maybe it happened in the past, maybe past life, or it's on other side of the world. It doesn't matter. It makes no sense. It is actually nonsense. And if you stick with this principle and don't break it, and a lot of people use this yin and yang, and they have these little necklaces and everything, but they actually know? Do they apply every day of what that means? I'm not so sure, because if you would apply and you would live by that principle and not break it, a lot of problems would just start going away. So it may sound like a man, his job is like take all all responsibility, because I mean whatever you project, that's going to be reflected. So how can there be a mirror's fault of what is being reflected to you? And at the same time, you say, what if the mirror is black? It's just going to reflect a lot of negative stuff at me. Yes, and it will do that for the purpose of you growing. That's what the growth is. And Of course, the woman's responsibility to understand that she is a mirror, and she is always following the projection of a man if she wants to be in the energy in the feminine state. And that's where, like, sometimes people use, like, oh, I'm strong, independent, powerful woman or whatever. No, you're being a dude, you're being a masculine. I mean, it's just, that's not how it works. And they don't know the real power of the feminine, what it's like to be a white mirror. You know, and we sometimes attribute all the value to the masculine energy that is you know, seemingly has all the power, but every single ounce of energy that the masculine did to create something came from the feminine, and that's where the feminine power lies, is in that purity, in the innocence, because everything comes to her. That's, you know, you see, because in the end, like, the real power is not something that a in the ego world, in the matrix world, the power is always about struggle. You know, ego wants to have power over each other, whatever. But in this world, there is no, everything is shared, and so everything is specialized as well. I specialize in what I'm good, and you specialize in what you're good, and together we create something that is powerful and loving. And whatever stands in between, all these patterns, these lies, we destroy it and dissolve it through the act of making love. Real love, you know, not talking about sex. Even the expression making love. Well, that's it for today. Everything that you see in the physical, it's already been done, including whatever your woman is saying. And if you don't like what your woman is saying, and if she's talking about some negative beliefs or whatever, and she believes this, believes that, dissolve it, reimagine it, because that's your job as a man. And it's a little strange because this may make you feel like it's a single player game. Ultimately, it is a single player game, but there's a lot of things that we can still enjoy as a multiplayer. But ultimately, what happens in reality, that's only up to you. But the games that you play in your reality, of course, there's many people participating in these games. So it's not just you anymore. But if you look deep, deep, deep down, there is a projection and a reflection. Reflection is a feedback, and if you don't like the feedback, dissolve it, and you can do that. Don't argue with it, don't try to change it, don't, just freaking dissolve the patterns. or imagining the new ones. And it is a really basic thing that I'm communicating, and it is probably one of the highest, if not the highest, return on investment of your energy. But how many of you are you actually going to do it? That's the question. Hopefully a few. Peace. See you in the next one.